I'm Black Dragon, and welcome to Black Dragon Biker TV. Well, not really. I guess we're the Lavish T. Williams show. This mofo done took over my Dragon's Lair. Welcome to Black Dragon, or welcome to Lavish T. Williams, the Lavish T. Williams show. I'm Black Dragon from Black Dragon Biker TV, and as always, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in. Down here we're in the country, out here in Tucker, Georgia, and he's come down from Detroit to hang out with me here at the Dragon's Lair. Where we hang out and do biker stuff and talk about biker stuff. And you guys know me from Black Dragon Biker TV and Black Dragon Biker News, the Black Dragon Biker News Network. So we do MC Protocol, we do biker news and all kinds of biker views, biker stuff. Anything that has to do with motorcycles and motorcycle clubs and the motorcycle lifestyle experience. And I am so excited to have a fellow content creator, influencer, Lavish T up there from Detroit with all the tow trucks and stuff, and he parties in Detroit and takes over the whole city. The mayor knows him and stuff, runs for office and stuff. I don't know. I'm just lucky. I'm levitating to have my brother here down here with me. So I guess he's gonna ask me some questions and stuff. I don't know, but whatever happens, man. Thank you all for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for getting me to 197,000 subscribers on YouTube. We got almost 500,000 subscribers across YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. So it's just really excited, and I'm excited that someone would actually take the time to come see me. So, hey man, welcome to the show.
Oh man, thanks. So, Black Dragon, first of all, let me get right down to it, man. Where did this biker passion come from? Not the podcast, not the video, just you wanting to get a motorcycle and ride it before the club.
Wow, that's crazy. First of all, I do want to say, when you speak of passion, I do want to give a shout out and an acknowledgement to the Rare Breed Motorcycle Club, because they've just lost, I believe, 3 brothers, maybe 4, but they've lost 3 brothers and had a couple injured in a wreck in San Diego. And that's where my motorcycle club life begins, in San Diego, California. On the same freeway that they had a wreck on. So I would just like to say, here at Black Dragon Biker TV, and of course my nation, the mighty Black Sabbath Motorcycle Club Nation, we extend our condolences and anything that we can do. If you need the channel, and I'm sure if you need Lavish's channel, if you need us to put up GoFundMes or anything like that, please let us know. So to get into your question, I got into motorcycling when I was about 4 or 5 years old. And it started off with a passion for riding a bicycle without training wheels. And my parents had forbidden me to get on the bicycle without training wheels, and they refused to take the training wheels off my bicycle. So I went on ahead and started riding a friend's bicycle up the street. And when I'd bring my ass home skint up, I'd get a whooping because they know what I had done. So I just had this passion for bicycles, you know, and just being on 2 wheels from an early age. And then one day, this hippie, and we're talking probably 1969 or something. So we lived on Redstone Arsenal, which is a army base down in Huntsville, Alabama. And this hippie, this guy with long hair, big old beard, big old fat belly guy, pulls up on a motorcycle. He's driving by me, and it was a really racist kind of time back then. So, you know, I had been told that, you know, you don't speak to lone white males because they might hurt you. So, I'm not allowed to speak to strangers, especially lone white strangers, at that time. So I was like 4 or 5, and this guy comes riding down the road. This raggedy, raked fork motorcycle with the you know, one of these choppers things, and he looks at me because I just stopped what I was playing. I just stopped and I just stared as the bike went by. I just watched him, and that guy saw me, stopped his motorcycle, turned around, and came back, and he said, "What you looking at, boy?" And I pointed to the motorcycle. I couldn't even speak, like he had me speechless. I pointed to the motorcycle. what you looking at, boy? And I pointed to the motorcycle. He goes, you like this, boy? And I said, something like that. He says, you want to ride on this, boy? And I said, He reaches down with one hand, snatches me up, throws me on the gas tank, and takes off. And I could hear my mom. She was already out the front door screaming. And by the time, so we were gone forever, right? This guy took me, he's riding fast, he's riding slow, he's making curves and all this kind of stuff. We had to be gone 30, 40 minutes. Can you imagine your mama at that time? So by the time we got back, the police were there. And this guy pulls up, and the police grab a hold of him like he had kidnapped me or something, and they grabbed him and they pulled him off the motorcycle. And my mom, this was on an Army base, my mom was going crazy and fighting on the man and everything. And the man is just laughing, guffawing, ha, 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 and calling the police bitches and stuff like this. And my mom and she's screaming at me, she's screaming at the man, going crazy. And he tried to say something to her, and my mom was just tore into him. She came in at him like this. She was so mad. And the police had to pull my mom off of him and stuff, and they were taking him to jail. And he looks over at my mom, and he says, don't worry, lady. He's ours now. And he was right. They hauled him off, but he was right. From that second forward,
You knew you wanted to be on a motorcycle.
I was possessed. I had an insatiable passion to ride. From that second forward, even though my parents actually had forbidden me to ride a bicycle without training wheels, all I talked about was motorcycles, 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 motorcycles from that point until I got my first. So that was my beginning of the passion to ride motorcycles. And then at some point, I discovered Evel Knievel, and I saw this guy jumping over canyons and carrying on and popping wheelies with him and his son. You know, Robbie Knievel just died not long ago, and I watched those kids grow up on motorcycles. So it was that guy, then Evel Knievel, and then later on in the 70s, the brothers in my neighborhood, the Cobras, was a motorcycle club of all brothers. And that's when I really started to understand choppers, because they rode crazy choppers, raked and all kind of stuff in my neighborhood in Oklahoma City. There were the Dragons, there were the Cobras or Snakes or something like that, and all these different clubs. And so that's kind of where the passion came from.
So when did you decide to jump on a motorcycle, buy your first bike?
So when I grew up in an area where I didn't have, by that time my mom and dad had divorced, right? By the time I was 6. So the kids around me had a lot of money. They had both parents, so they had motorcycles and mini bikes and stuff like that. And all I could do was watch them. So I would be riding on people's motorcycles. I grew up in Lawton, Oklahoma, around the farmland. So we'd go to people's farms, and they'd have 3 or 4 mini bikes and all this kind of stuff. And there was a bully that was across the street from me. His name was Lawrence Dennett. He used to beat me up every day. And he was a hellacious person as a kid. He was very, very mean to me. And but also he was like a brother figure. So one minute he's beating me up, the next minute he's doing beautiful things, like taught me how to play football, taught me how to box, taught me how to do karate. But in the meantime, he would also horribly bully me. And it's one of the reasons I'm so against bullies. If I see somebody bullying somebody, I'll destroy them. But he was the first person to actually put me on a mini bike. And we were riding the mini bikes all over, and I was riding behind him. You know, back then, 2 guys could be on a motorcycle, ride on a mini bike, because we were just kids, right? You don't do that now.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. So you rode on the back of the bike with the guy.
I rode on the back of the bike with the guy, but we were kids. Don't do that. No, I'm just do not do that, man. Don't do that in here.
You and the guy was riding on the bike. You were riding on the bike.
I don't even like the way this is being set up.
Right.
So at some point, he put me on the front, and he rode behind me. So he says to me as we're riding, he says, I'm going to make you ride this by yourself. And I was like, no, I don't want to ride by myself. All right. Okay, it's nothing out there. Hey! Shh. So I was like, no, I don't want to ride by myself. No, and like I told you, he was a bully. So we got up to about 15 miles an hour, and he jumped off the back. And there I was, riding the mini bike by myself. And I must have gone 200-300 feet and then just fell right over. I just fell over. And, but I was so exhilarated by that. That was my first time on a motorcycle by myself on the mini bike. And he ran to me. You did a good job. You did a good. No, he was just an evil SOB that wanted me to wreck. But
How old were you?
oh my goodness, 6 or 7 at this point.
Okay.
Yeah. So he picked up the motorcycle and did it again. I cried and everything, but he was a bully. So he made me do it over and over again until I could ride that mini bike that day. So I got bullied into doing it. But by the end of that day, I could ride that sucker and stop it and everything. So, you know, bad things have good in them and good things have bad in them. That was my first time riding. So by the time I was about 12, you could get your motorcycle license in Oklahoma at 14 to ride. You had to be in at 9:30 at night. You could ride from 4 in the morning till 9:30 at night, which nobody ever paid attention to that. So by the time I was 12, I was screaming for my mom to get me an enduro so I could ride, so I could have my own transportation. So where I come from, at 12 years old, you could drive a car. If you were on a farm, in farm life, you could drive a car. So I was already driving, but I wanted a motorcycle. So at 14, you could get your motorcycle license. And my father had been sending me U.S. savings bonds to save. $50 a pop. So I must have had several $100s in U.S. savings bonds. And my mom went and bought me my first Yamaha 125 Enduro.
All right.
So that was somewhere around the age of 13 or 14 or so. And that was my first motorcycle that I owned. Myself.
Yourself. Okay, cool. Now we fast forward. You join a motorcycle club. First of all, let me ask you this. How many clubs have you been in?
One.
Just one motorcycle club. Good job. What made you want to join a motorcycle club, and why the Black Sabbath?
I come walking down the street and I see this senior chief, George Clark, get on a motorcycle, a Honda Concourse. And I said, what do you know about motorcycles? And he said, son, what do you know about motorcycles? And I straightened up, poked my chest out. I said, I'm a rider. He said, oh yeah? And he wrote down an address, 4280 Market Street, San Diego, California. And he said, son, if you're a rider, meet me over here at 4 o'clock on Saturday, something like that. So that was like a Friday. The next day at 4 o'clock, I pull up to Black Sabbath Motorcycle Club. And out the front door walks this. When I first met this senior chief, he was clean, wearing his dress whites, and well, he looked like just an iconic figure. And he walks out of this motorcycle club in jeans, boots, and colors. And I was like, how could this forthright person be a gang member? I was like, oh my God, they let him in a gang? He's in a gang? And my mouth was just wide open. He said, son, come on in. And me and my best friend walked in the front door, and I met all these black men who were powerful. They were military men. They were high-ranking E8s and E9s, and they walked with a swagger like I had never really seen. In the submarine Navy, there are not a lot of, when I was in, there were not a lot of black men of high rank. That just didn't exist at that time. They were sprinkled. But in the surface Navy, they were everywhere. So these guys were surface Navy. They were high-ranking military men with money and family and cars and people bowing and scraping to them, and they belong to the baddest motorcycle club in the whole damn town, the Black Sabbath Motorcycle Club. And he walks out to the corner, walks out to the front door. The club was on a corner, and he screams across the street to the bus stop, "Hey, you girls, get over here!" And there were some girls sitting on the bus stop, about 25, 26 years old or so. He screamed, "Get over here!" And them girls got up off the bus stop and came across the street. And he says, "Get up on that stage over there and dance for my bros." And he pulled out a wad of money, and them girls went up on the stage. We had a bar. The bar was as long as a city block. They jumped up on the bar and started dancing and taking off their clothes. I had never seen nothing like it. And I was like, you got that kind of power in a motorcycle club? And that was the time. That was probably the single moment where I said, oh, I got to be in on this, bro. I got this. They can just holler across the street to people they don't even know, and they come walking in the club and start stripping and dancing, and it was crazy to me, man. And I admit it was the baser instincts of MCing that got me, but I was very impressionable, and I just never seen, when these guys rode around town, people were waving at them, the kids were waving, they were like heroes riding, they were like knights in shining armor riding these motorcycles through the neighborhood, and kids were smiling, and people were treated them like they were some kind of gods in that neighborhood. And I had never witnessed anything like it. And so that was my fascination. That's when I realized I wanted to be a biker more than I wanted to be a choir boy. I wanted to be a badass MFing biker. And that's what those guys were. So that was my passion.
All right, cool. I mean, I didn't know. I thought I was hearing a military story at first, man. So you got it.
I'm a storyteller, man. Don't
I can see.
Mess with my stories.
So the guy being in the military was the guy who lured you into becoming a Black Sabbath by sending you to the Black Sabbath clubhouse. From there, it was something that you seen that you liked and you wanted to be a part of.
His name was Magic, and Magic brought me into the club. Yes.
Okay, that's cool, man. So you've been out here on this Black Sabbath. How long have you been a member of the Black Sabbath?
So I first showed up at the doorsteps of the Black Sabbath about 1989, and it took me almost 10 years of hanging around. And then, it took me about 5 years of hanging around and almost 5 years as a prospect. So I didn't actually get my colors until maybe something like maybe 97 or so. So I tell folks I've been with the Black Sabbath for 35 years. 1989 is when I first arrived. I never left the doorsteps. I've been associated with my club for 35 years. I've probably been a patch member since about 1997. So however many years, that's almost 30 years or something, 28 years, something like that.
Okay, so now we got, what you saying that we see a lot of people, they go to motorcycle clubs, they prospect, they become probies, they join these clubs. What took you so long to actually become a member? Initially, I didn't have a motorcycle. So for a few years, I didn't have a motorcycle, so I couldn't become I was just hanging around. And I didn't take it seriously at first. It was a group of good guys. I became very close with Magic, and they allowed me to just hang around and chase women. And from the very beginning, I would do stuff like clean up the clubhouse and stuff like that. So it never dawned on me that I would actually be a member in the beginning. And then somewhere a few years later, I actually got a motorcycle, and I would ride around, but I would go out to sea and stuff like that and come back and do stuff. So somewhere in there, I became serious about hanging around. Then I became serious about becoming a patch member, but I was in the middle of a club war. We were having a huge
club war at that time, and the club was dividing into factions. So one faction didn't want me to be voted in because I would be another vote for the other faction. And the other faction wanted me to be voted in, but they didn't want to vote their prospects. And so I was caught in that for several years. Another thing is, I didn't really speak like the guys. I wasn't from the hood. I didn't drink. I was a little square for them. And there was a lot of distrust in the very beginning. A lot of the guys thought maybe I was a snitch or a narc, or, I just wasn't quite where they were from. I was in the Navy Personnel Reliability Program, so there wasn't going to be, I handled nuclear weapons, so there wasn't going to be any time that you would find me smoking a joint or something like that. I just didn't do that. So it took the club a little while to get to the point where they could actually trust me, and that took time hanging out for folks to say, well, he doesn't drink and he doesn't smoke and he don't get high, but he's not going to tell us on us if we do. So. And then I was not a good prospect, which is why I wrote Prospects Bible, because I sucked as a prospect. I didn't want to do any of the things. I didn't feel like cleaning no heads. You already know that, right? So I didn't feel like cleaning no heads. I didn't want to mop nothing. I didn't want to sweep nothing. I was a difficult prospect. I was always in trouble, always getting kicked off my prospect ship and having to start all over again. So that's why I wrote Prospects Bible. I can tell you everything not to do to have to try to get in a club. So all of those things combined, it took me a little while, but when I finally got patched over, it was a wrap.
Okay, that's cool, man. It's hard seeing that I met you based off of YouTube and everything to actually hear you tell these stories of being in the club. But being in the club, because we're staying on you as a club member, you being in the club, man, what were some of your greatest times as a patched member representing your club?
My greatest times in the club was as a prospect, man. I had no worries. And a lot of guys, they won't let their prospects ride in public or by themselves or stuff like that. And my thing was, Tank, get in here, Brutus. My thing was, I wore my patch, my prospect patch. I wore that like a real patch, so I went everywhere all by myself because I was a prospect for so long. So it wasn't like I see a lot of clubs won't let their prospects go anywhere alone and stuff like that. Man, I was everywhere alone and with club brothers, and I just, my prospect patch became my patch. I never thought I would get patched in. I didn't care. I had the prospect patch on, and that associated with me. And everybody knew me. I was all over the place. I was in Atlanta. I was in Los Angeles. I was up and down the coast, all the way up to the East Bay Dragons and all the way back down. So some of the greatest times I ever had was when I had no responsibilities, no office, no requirements. Nobody wanted me to do anything but clean up the clubhouse or something like that. Nobody was asking me for advice. There was no political stuff against me. Nobody was trying to throw me out of the club because they thought I had become too popular or whatever the case may be. There was none of that. There was simply riding, and chasing women, and being a biker in a motorcycle club. I didn't start running into trouble until after I got my full patch. And then in the beginning, I didn't care about nothing. Like when I was a full patch, I didn't care. I didn't even listen in meetings. I didn't care where the money went. I didn't care I paid my dues, and I didn't care about nothing else. I just wanted to ride that motorcycle, ride as far as I could, party on the set, party, chase women, chase women, chase women. And that was my fun time. I would go to work in the military. I had a couple jobs. I was going to college full time as well, getting my degree. And when I let off steam, it was messing around in the club. So my greatest times were when I was junior in the club, had no responsibilities, from prospect all the way up until I got my first office. Was the best time of my life. And if I could go back there and stay stuck in time somewhere, that's what I would do.
Okay, that's cool. Now, being a biker, man, being in the club, Black Sabbath and everything. Just relating to you, man. Have you had any biker fights in the club, man?
Oh my God.
I mean, because these are stories, man. These are, when you sit back and you laugh, good or bad, win or lose, man, just to be able to sit back and share them nowadays. And then me seeing you the way that I see you now, it's probably hard to believe anything different unless you tell me.
Oh yeah, we've had biker fights and all that stuff, man. You name it. I've had fights with my club brothers. I've had fights between clubs. There was one time when Magic was doing magic tricks, and they called him Magic because he did magic tricks, and a biker thought he was doing voodoo, and almost got the whole club whooped in a clubhouse in L.A. I've seen it all, I think, out there. The craziness. When we did the movie Biker Boys, we went to one of those clubs, and they started shooting in the club, and all the actors was laying on the ground and everything. Everybody was like, "Oh my God, what has Black Dragon got us into?" So absolutely, we have. I've seen it all. I've seen biker fights with my. I've had fights with my club brothers. I had a club brother grab me maybe a year or two ago and throw me against the wall right here in the Dragon's Lair. 28-year-old kid. He said something to me, and I must have hollered something back, and he turned around and said, "My own father doesn't even talk to me like that." And I must have said, "Well, he should. And if your father won't, I will." Next thing I know, I was up against the damn wall. I was like, "How's this kid? I'm damn near 60 years old. This kid didn't grab me." So I grabbed the kid by his throat, and then he just disappeared out of my hand. And I thought, damn, I'm still good. I still got it. Because I was just trying to choke that kid to death. And looked around, and my Malinois had grabbed him. That black Malinois I had with me everywhere.
Oh,
grabbed him and pulled him to the ground and snatched him out that door right there and started eating his ass alive.
So he's pretty much surprised you with that strength.
I was surprised.
Yeah.
I thought it was me. I was like, and he just disappeared. And I was like, and I looked, and it was the Malinois. And next thing I know, this fool got his gun in my Malinois' face. And I was like, "Don't you shoot my dog, man." And he said,
I'm sure it didn't sound like that.
He said, "It ain't your dog. He's only been here 3 days." And this was true. He had just showed up. He just walked in, walked down the street, and I had been feeding him for 3 days. And that dog tore my club brother up. I'm so glad that he did not shoot my dog. He kept, "If he bites me one more time," the dog bit him again. "If he bites me one more time," the dog bit him again. "If he bites me one more time." I was like, boy, if you don't put that damn gun up. So, yeah. I've been through it, and then I loved on my club brother, not long after. So we have a week or two where we won't speak, and then the club thing is like having brothers. For me, the coolest thing is I have like 25-year-old brothers. I have 18-year-old brothers, and then I have 75-year-old brothers, and I just have a gamut of these people. Some who love me. Some who can't stand my black ass. Some who want to throw me out the club.
No, I can get it, man. We're gonna talk about that as well, because that's something that I definitely want to speak on. But Biker Boys, the movie, you getting a part in Biker Boys, how did that even come about? How did they connect you and Biker Boys, the movie, together?
This is the craziest story you ever heard. It started off with me publishing my own magazine. So there was a kid in California who brought the Flaming Knights to California. His name was Ringo. And he wanted to write his own magazine called Knight Errants. There was only 2 magazines out that covered the black biker set at the time. Long Riders and Black Biker, okay? So I went to the father of the Black Sabbath Nation and I said, "Hey, Father, why do we only have pictures of women on the walls that are selling beer?" And he said, "Well, because Easy Rider won't shoot pictures of black women on motorcycles, and we don't want a bunch of white women up on our walls, so the only pictures we can have of models is black women selling beer." And I was mad. Well, why don't they put our women in the magazines? And he said, well, you're a photographer. Why don't you create our own magazine? You're a writer. You're a photographer. So why don't you create a magazine and we can have our own women in that magazine? And that's when Black Iron Motorcycle Magazine was born. From me wanting to take a proactive move. But there were two brothers out there, Long Riders magazine and Black Biker, and then came Biker Dreams not long after, which was just an opulent book, only lasted a small time, but somewhere in between that, Ringo came out with Knight Errants. So none of these magazines had anything to do with half-naked women on motorcycles. They were talking about biking, and I had a prurient interest. I wanted half-naked women on motorcycles. So I started Black Iron Motorcycle Magazine. Now, what does that have to do with the movie Biker Boys? When I finally got Black Iron made, I was living here in Atlanta. This was 2020, I believe, or 2000. This was 2000. And there was the National Bikers Roundup in Madera, California. So I had convinced the people here, the people were here in Atlanta, and they were going to take my books to Madera, where I was going to have a booth, and I was going to sell my books, Black Iron Motorcycle Magazine. So I had thousands of books, several thousand, 5,000 or more books that I was taking with me. And something happened, and their truck had a wreck or something, and they just left my books on the side of the road. So as I'm driving down the highway, I see my magazines on the side of the road. And there was boxes of them. I picked up those boxes, and the only way that so they were ruined. They were messed up. So all the way across the United States of America, on my way to California, I would stop in the cities and drop my books off for free at people's clubhouses. I would just drop boxes of them off at people's clubhouse doors. And the whole thing was a failure. I got to Madeira. Nobody wanted to buy my book, my magazine, my biker magazine with all these half-naked women in it. Nobody wanted to buy this book. So we wound up only being able to sell them for $1 a piece. I only made $900. I spent thousands, tens of thousands of dollars. I only made $900. But that was enough money to come back home in style. So I stayed at all the hotels and everything, ate great food, came back home. And so that was it. So about 7 months later, I get a call from Reggie Rock Bythewood, who said, hey man, I'm doing a movie. And at that time it was going to be called The Unknown Riders. I'm doing a movie in Hollywood called The Unknown Riders. And aren't you that big time publisher with Black Iron Motorcycle magazines all over the country? And I was like, I am? Oh yeah, I am. That's me. Because some kind of way he had gotten my book, because I had dropped him off all the way from Atlanta all the way up to Madera, California. I just dropped him off. The magazine was a complete failure. But when he saw that magazine, he called me up like, you must be that publisher. I need help to do my movie. And first of all, there's this guy we're doing the movie about. His name is Pokey. Do you know Pokey? And I said, well, yeah, he comes down to Atlanta to San Diego all the time and races his motorcycle up and down the street. And the father of the Black Sabbath, he'll know how to get a hold of him. But yeah, we know of him, blah, blah, blah. Oh, we're doing this movie about him, blah, blah, blah. Can you get us in touch with him? And that was the first thing I did for the movie. And the next thing you know, they started just calling me for more and more stuff. I'm here in Atlanta. So at some point, they were afraid that the movie would not get greenlighted in Hollywood because they thought everybody would think it was a gangbanger movie, and that you would have the problems, when they made colors and all the gangs were shooting at each other at the theater. So they thought that, because this was like the first kind of like black movie since Boys in the Hood and all that kind of stuff, so they wanted to know, is this going to be a movie where all these people, we're talking about black biker gangs, all these people were going to show up at the movie theater and shoot it up. So the director, Reggie Rock Bythewood, asked me to come out to California and give a presentation as to why that wouldn't happen. And so at that time, I was very proficient with Microsoft Word, and I knew how to use, oh my goodness, that presentation software. I forget the name of it now. PowerPoint. I knew how to use PowerPoint and stuff like that. So I put together this lavish presentation with stuff flying in and everything. And I had to say stuff like, you know, big time 1%er motorcycle clubs might roll in and take over a town or something like that. But black motorcycle clubs, if a bunch of black folks came in and took over a town, what do you think would happen? So I do this big old thing. I've got this Facebook presentation. I got these Hollywood muckety mucks all standing around listening to this to decide whether or not they were going to let this movie go. And after I gave my presentation, there was a standing ovation, and the Hollywood exec said, "Okay, yeah, okay, Black Dragon made a good point. He did say, okay, we're going to greenlight the movie." And I came walking out of there, and the director walked up to me and said, "You know, I'm not going to make this movie without you. You're not going back to Atlanta." Now, one thing is crazy. When they sent for me to come out, I had missed my airplane, and I did not know like these were real people. Like when they sent for me, I'd missed my airplane. I didn't get to the airport on time. So I said, "F it, I ain't going. I just ain't going." So I went back. I came back here to Tucker, to my office, and the father of the Black Sabbath Nation called me. He said, "Son, aren't you supposed to be on the airplane?" I said, "Oh, I'm not going to that shit, man. Them people ain't real. I ain't going. I missed my plane. I ain't going." He said, "Hey, people give up everything to go to Hollywood and make a movie, and Hollywood has come to Tucker, Georgia to get you?"
That's a big deal.
He said, "Fool, if you don't call them folks up and tell them you missed your airplane, I'm gonna not, when I get to Tucker, I'm gonna mess your butt up." So I called them up and I told them I missed my plane. They said, "We're sorry, blah, blah, blah." They sent a limo to come pick me up. Flew me out to California, and the rest was history, man. So that's how I got into the movie into beginning in the first place.
Oh, that's good. Being a biker, being in this club, and I want to use you because it's all about you right now. Seeing what you have done, podcasting, building your following up, writing these books, talking about the motorcycle culture, the world, and all of that stuff. How does that affect you and your club, being a member? Every club member is not always happy, and you have club members that's very happy. How does that work out, and how do you balance it?
So it doesn't work out, and everybody that I've ever known that's been in a club that's done this has been kicked out of their club. I don't know if you're in a club or not.
Boogie Down.
Oh, so you still in Boogie Down? So I know it's been tough for you. I don't even have to ask you. I already know. Am I wrong? So everybody, it's challenging. That's nice. That's a nice way to say it. Everybody I've ever known to be in this business and be in a club, from Soast the Ghost to Big Cell, to Hollywood from Insane Throttle, has all had to leave their club behind. Or like in the case of Shaggy, 1%er, especially the 1%ers. In the case of Shaggy, the club said, "No more social media or you can get the hell out." So clubs don't understand social media. I have managed to be able to stay in my club because I was a national president when I did it, unlike the rest of you folks who aren't or weren't. I was a national president, so it was much more difficult to, and then I was a 99%er. And at the time I started this, a lot of people were not on YouTube like they are now. And so for a lot of my club members, they didn't even know what the hell I was doing. But absolutely, I have been both boon and curse. I'm the biggest recruiter my motorcycle club has ever seen. But I'm also one of the most hated guys in my motorcycle club. Some for petty jealousies and stuff like that, but others for other reasons. Like I have absolutely brought a huge spotlight on my club. Some guys don't want to be in a spotlight. Some guys came into biking to be bikers. They don't want to hear about this, that, or the other. I have absolutely put a spotlight on my club, but it's been good and bad, boon and curse. Our name is known internationally around the world, but some guys are up for that and some guys are not. So I would say if you're in a motorcycle club trying to do this, it's going to be difficult, but not as difficult as when I started, because people like me and people like you and people like Mike Ball and Big Cell and oh my goodness, you could go down the list of these people that are in motorcycle clubs. Danny D'Lo, you just go down the list. And these people, and then on TikTok, it's insane. All the bikers on TikTok with TikTok channels, especially the one percenters, there are more of them over there. Like TikTok is one percenter biker influencer world. And so it's much easier now, I think, than it was 8 years ago when I got started in 2016. When I got started in 2016, there were only like 3 or 4 bikers and clubs I knew that were doing this. Goldie from One Down was doing it. You had Hollywood from Insane Throttle. And there was a guy named Ninja Dad who was doing it. And then you had a guy over in Europe by the name of Dibber in the Wind. And these were the only guys doing anything like that. And Big Cell from, at the time, he was Kings of the South. And that was it, man. So it's getting bigger, but it's hard. If you're in a motorcycle club, it's going to be hard because motorcycle clubs are kind of closed societies. Get back here! Motorcycle clubs are closed societies, and what we do is not closed as influencers. People see us and see how we move.
Now, what about, you pro biker, you in your club, but then you got your podcast. It's 2 different things. Black Dragon is Black Dragon. Black Sabbath is Black Sabbath. How do you balance when your bike club wants to use your platform for their gain? Is that something that, hey, since I'm in the club, hey man, if I'm in the club, man, I'm representing my bike club to the fullest on my podcast? Or is it more so like, hey, this is something that I do over here that I built, and the Black Sabbath is something over here that I'm a member and I'm a part of? 2 separate entities. How does that work out for you and to avoid conflict?
For me, for the longest time, they were the same because my show started out as Black Dragon National President. And there was a guy named Nikita One Percenter who called me up and said, I love your show, but you're a national president, and when you speak as Black Dragon National President, there is no separation. And that's not good because you're not going to always be the national president. And so you're not going to always speak for the club. And the one thing I would change if I were you is I would draw separation because you're going to need it. And at the time, I couldn't understand what the hell he was talking about. But I listened to my elders. He'd always been like a big brother. So I listened to him. And he advised me to change the name. So that's why a lot of times when you see correspondence, like YouTube still keeps that old Black Dragon National President, but you're able to change the name. So I changed it to Black Dragon Biker TV, drawing a separation I didn't know I was going to need later. And so everything I did initially as a national president was to grow the club. See, I didn't come in like you guys separately. I came into the social media platform to grow my club and make it a worldwide recognized name. And it dawned on me that if I could get millions of viewers, and in every book I ever wrote, I wrote the history of the Black Sabbath Nation, so that if you were a prospect and you bought my book, you learned all about prospecting, but in the back of that book, you learned about the history of the Black Sabbath Nation. So my book is sold all over the world. My books are sold all over the world. So all over the world, people have read about my club. It was my idea to make my club that. But then there came a time when I was no longer the spokesperson for the club. I was no longer the leader of the club, no longer the face of the club. And other people whose job that was now became very upset and angry that every place they go, it's, hey, I know Black Dragon. Hey, Black Dragon this. Hey, Black Dragon brought me. Hey, I know about you through Black Dragon. And so the anger became palpable. I mean, you could, I've been through hell because of that. Absolute damn hell.
No, I can get it, man. I asked that question because I just had this situation with my club. And the thing is, Lavish is growing so big. I'm popping up in cities and I'm talking to different people. And in the beginning, just like you say, some people didn't want all that attention and media. So in the beginning, it was, hey, don't put the club on the internet, don't take pictures, don't do this. And those same people years later, they're on the internet.
Yes, now they're on the internet.
They're on the internet.
Right.
So now you fast forward, so now you're growing your platform, you're growing your following. I did the Lavish Biker Bash, everything is big. So now when
And it's the Lavish Biker.
It's the Lavish Biker Bash.
Like this is the Dragon's lair.
Yes.
Not the Black Sabbath lair.
Correct. So it's completely separate. So now you feel like you got the attention, and the club feels like, hey, you should be utilizing your platform to boost.
To boost us, yes.
And sometimes you got to keep in mind that for me,
yes,
everybody that's following you just do not want to be part of the MC thing, and
you turn a lot of people off. Like they want to see you.
Yes.
Not particularly are they trying to see the MC. Like I got an MC. I don't need to hear about your MC every time when you're talking. What I want to hear about is how to fix a problem, you know, or how to do this, or some MC protocol, or where the part, whatever the case may be. I'm not here for you to rah-rah about your club. I can rah-rah about mine. So yeah.
Yeah, that tends to happen. So you get to a point where you say, hey man, listen, you put everything lavish on your social media. Why you don't put your club all over the internet? But then you have sponsorships coming in. You have a different crowd. See, now you go from the 99%er MC club to now you're going independent riders. You're going OMC. You're going social clubs. You're going law enforcement clubs. You're going people that just like the passion
of riding. Yes.
And then you got to explain to them it's a difference. Your following becomes a lot different.
Right.
Everybody doesn't want to be over here.
Right.
They want to be over here because it's a safe place,
right.
Safe space. And you got to be careful of what you put your name on.
Yes.
For certain things.
Yes.
You know, so I'm just...
The unthinkable comes that you have to actually divide yourself from the club. But wait till you get the one where the club tells you, well, it's because of us that you're who you are. And you couldn't have done that without our name. And so now you're making money off of us. When you be like, well, hold up, bro. You see all this free advertising? You couldn't pay for this if you tried. You couldn't pay to have your story told across the world if you tried. So it can be ugly, man. That's the ugly stuff that we don't always talk about. We're always sitting on here smiling. But politics is a mofo, especially when it comes to the politics and you become a popular person, and there is a desire to destroy your popularity. So then all of a sudden, man, folks can make up stuff. It becomes crazy what you deal with. And every biker I know in a motorcycle club that has one of these channels has been through this or is going through it. To some extent or another. And then there'll be people that, you know, there'll be I don't know how many old timers you have in your club, but there'll be old timers and stuff like that are just completely against the evil of social media or something. They don't have Facebook, they don't have nothing. And those people, I see them, they'll rain down on brothers, especially the OMC bikers I know that are doing these channels. They get all kinds of stuff. And then they have the problem of being OMCs and not really talking a whole lot anyway. So it is a interesting place, but like I say, it's changing real fast, especially like on TikTok. Like they don't seem to care over there.
Okay, cool. Now we're gonna talk about Black Dragon being an author, writing these books, because that's a big thing, man. You write a lot of books, and you put them out there. What made you write your first book?
Yeah, because we started losing too many people out of the mighty Black Sabbath Motorcycle Club Nation. That's why I wrote my first book, because I would see people leave this club and go become the greatest citizens of other people's motorcycle clubs. And I realized that we were losing people because we weren't training people. We were losing people because we weren't setting expectations. We were losing people because we weren't following bylaws. It wasn't per protocol, it was per your call. And so I could see that there was a necessity for a manual. And I spent many years as a technical writer in the civilian world, writing engineering documents. So I knew how to write how-to books. So I thought if I could write a how-to book for the Black Sabbath MC to teach people how to prospect and the meaning of it, because I was a horrible prospect. And that's where Prospects Bible came from, as an attempt to reach out to my brothers. But at some point I decided, well, I done wrote this whole thing. Why don't I just publish it for everybody? And I wrote Prospects Bible, How to Prospect for a Traditional Law-Abiding MC. And that word law-abiding MC caused so much hell out there. People were so mad. What are you saying? You're saying we're not law-abiding? You're saying you're better than us? What are you saying? And initially, it was horrible, the response. People called me Iron Order. I didn't even know who the hell Iron Order is. He must be one of those Iron Order bikers. And the white bikers were the worst. What the hell does an N-word doing on a Harley? What the hell does an N-word know about an MC? Back in 2014, when I wrote that book, there were people that didn't even know that there were black 1%ers. There were people that didn't even know that black folks was in clubs. We're talking 2014. And I got that shit all across the country. And I would open up Amazon every day and just start cringing at it's kind of funny. I would read those critiques every single solitary day and just be damn near in tears. It's so funny because I write books now and don't even look at critiques. Like I couldn't even tell you what the critiques say. Like I don't care. But back then I would hang on every word. And then I noticed after about a year and a half, all of a sudden my book started flying off of the shelves, and people had started reading it, and people were noticing that what I talked about was not just significant for the Black Sabbath MC, it was significant for any motorcycle club, black, white, French, Italian, German, all over the world. My book started flowing all over the freaking world, and people started identifying with the basic how-to of trying to join something greater than yourself and learning about it and applying yourself. And then all of these people started telling me, hey, your book is required reading for our motorcycle club. And then I'll be damned if the 1%ers didn't. And the OMCs started calling me up and everything. And the book quickly became required reading over a couple of years, 3 or 4 years. It became required reading for over 3,000 motorcycle clubs worldwide. And I was like, man, I'm onto something here. Let me write the next one, the Sergeant at Arms Bible. And let me write the Public Relations Officer's Bible. And then one of my most ostentatious ones was the President's Bible. And I wanted to write my thoughts on being a president. And then I just wrote the Social Club's Bible. And that was intended to teach social clubs everything they need to know. And so now I've just got book after book after book planned. But it all really started with a sincere desire for me to help with the retention levels and the Black Sabbath Nation. That's where Prospects Bible came from. And, I was uniquely committed to doing that and teaching the world about the Black Sabbath Motorcycle Club and the original fathers and the founders and what we stood for and stuff like that. I wanted us to be as storied a motorcycle club as the Hells Angels or somebody. And in order to do that, you had to have somebody with marketing savvy out there pushing the name of the club, and that's what I've always tried to do.
All right, so now you're an author, you're writing these books. You get a guy, say I come out here, and they say, yeah, did you read that book about Black Dragon? What makes you so knowledgeable to share this type of information? Where are you getting your information at to instruct and lead people who's reading your books?
This is crazy because when I sat down and started writing this stuff, I kept asking myself, how do you know this? How the hell do you know this? Or is it right what you think you know? Well, I've always been one to listen to the elders. I've always been one to talk to the elders. I used to talk to Magic, and I would talk to Eli and Scrap Iron and Pep, and I would listen to Papa Vern. These were Tony. These were the leaders in my club, and watching them and watching how they moved. I was so lucky to come from a traditional MC where you had Baker and Richie Rich and all these guys I could call that formed me and shaped me. Some just a very little, some a whole lot. DJ, I could just go through these names of these people that Brother Bob, these people that gave me the basis, and then the father of the Black Sabbath Nation, Paul Pep Perry, who stayed in my camp, teaching me. Listen, I would just sit up and listen to these guys. Mad Mitch, man, I could just call these people's names. And some were very close to me, some not so close, but every one of them had a thing to teach me. And then I would meet all these other guys in all these other motorcycle clubs, like for instance, Dragon of the Flaming Knights, or Ringo, or man, I could just name people all over the place. And these people I absorbed, and they absorbed me. And I listened to their stories. I watched how they move. I watched Ringo bring the Flaming Knights across the United States of America and bring them to California, one man on a motorcycle, one man with a dream. And when I watched him do that, now I knew how. So I went across the United States and did the same damn thing I saw Ringo do. It wasn't rocket science. It was observation and then execution. And that guy when that guy first came to California, they laughed at him. Like, who the hell are you, bro? You come over here looking all weird. And he was on a Harley. And we were all riding crotch rockets back then. Here this guy come up on a Harley with a bedroll on the front. Motorcyclist stuff, like a white dude. What the hell's wrong with you? He started a whole thing. And then Kingfish, and another guy that is a Flaming Knights legend now. But we were all like prospects together and riding up and down the road with these guys, Dago Sumo, guys like that, man. These guys have become legends out there in the world. Howie from Final Option. These are West Coast guys that I'm talking about, but they were absolute goddamn legends. And I watched them become legendary. So, man, when I got out in the world, I just followed. I did what I saw those guys do. And I always would call the father up and ask him. So nothing I didn't do anything without guidance. I didn't do anything without asking people. I almost made no decisions on my own. I always would call back and try to figure out. And so this is how I was able to write those books from what I gained from the OGs. And people do the same thing with me. They listen to my books, they listen to my audiobooks, and they call me. And then they prepare themselves, and they take that and they redistribute it, redeliver it, repackage it, re-put it out there. And that's all I ever did.
Okay. So let me ask you this, man. Where did Black Dragon come from? How did you get the name Black Dragon?
So came from my martial arts career, and I was always a martial artist from a young age, and I was able to fight all over the world, and so they first started calling me the Black Dragon when I was in Asia, and I was fighting over there. So when I came to the club, I had Black Dragon written on stuff, and I had Black Dragon on this, that, or the other, and my license plate said Rokudan, which stood for 6th degree black belt. And the father, when he decided to name me, he already knew that I was called Black Dragon. One day I was standing at the clubhouse, and some of the guys was talking some mess, and they had talking about like they was gonna do something to me or whatever. And there was a sign in front of the clubhouse, and the sign was about 8 feet tall, 9 feet tall. And I just turned around and took my foot and I said, bang, 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 bang on that sign. And all that talk about what people was gonna, they just shut up. They just shut the hell up. And the father decided at that time, okay, we're gonna name him Black Dragon, which was a name that I'd already been called in the martial arts world. So it's kind of funny because I will go back, well, I used to go back and kick that sign every year just to show that I still could. Yeah. But there's no longer the bang, 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 bang. That doesn't exist. Now it's just a bang. And now the sign's gone. So it was there for like 40 years. It's gone now. It's 35, 40 years. It's gone. It's sad.
Now I keep hearing you say the father. Now, the father is what? Is that the president?
The father is the original Black Sabbath member.
The founder.
There were 7 founders.
All right.
But he was the first one to own a motorcycle, and they all learned how to ride on his motorcycle. So to me and many others, he's the original father, the original founder, the one that everybody learned to ride from. They all practiced riding his motorcycle for about a year or two until they eventually all got their own. So that's why he's known as the father.
Okay, just curious, because I hear you speak and say the father.
Stop fighting.
Black Dragon, man. I see you on the internet all the time, man. But listen, man, I'm just curious for myself as well as some others, man. When do you have time to ride, man, or do you still currently ride?
I do ride, not as often, obviously. I've gotten old and everything hurts, man. It was kind of interesting. I saw Big Cell out there. He's riding to California, and he said something that I thought was very interesting. He said, this is my last cross-country ride in 100-degree weather. And I remember the last one I did not too long ago. I was out there in 100-some degrees, 90-some degrees, and my skin was baking on my body. And I'm like, I got a 40-foot RV next to the house, or next to the Dragon's Lair. So why on earth do I need to do that anymore? I can put my stuff on the trailer and ride when I get there. You know, laying out on the ground and sleeping next to armadillos that have leprosy and all that kind of stuff is something I did as a young man. I gotta question myself: how much do I still want to do it? How many of those rides do I have left inside of me before I put everything on the trailers and pull it behind me? Like, I don't have anything to prove anymore, but I still have this need to be out on the highway on 2 wheels for great distances. I still have this need to taste the bugs in the air and stuff like that. But I also have the need to sleep on the inside, and I'm not as broke as I used to be. So I was thinking about like maybe hiring someone to drive my RV, so I would always have somewhere cool to spend the night at. But the way we ride, I don't know if the RV could keep up. So I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out. At what point am I going to actually retire from riding as hard as I always have? But I can tell you that I'm absolutely not riding as hard as I rode 10 years ago.
Okay, that's cool. Now, YouTube, man. Let's talk about your YouTube channel, man. What your YouTube channel, Biker News? Where you getting all this biker news from, anyway, man?
Well,
You dig deep into it because you be pulling up some stuff. And I'm like, man, how do you even find out about this?
so we're constantly on the hunt for news. Most of our news is sourced from the newspaper. But what I learned from Hollywood and Insane Throttle was that there's a biker angle. Brutus! Yeah, get y'all's butts in here. Y'all know better. There's a biker angle. And the biker angle tells the story from the biker side. So everything about us is not a gang. Everything about us is not, we're not evil. We're not all these things that people make money showing that we are. So when I first talked to Hollywood several years ago about developing my own biker news channel, I always wanted to come at it from the biker angle. Now, we get our news, like I say, sourced from newspapers. So a lot of times I will call the people that are in the story. I'll call them and ask them for their side of the story. And so a lot of the stuff that I report is not stuff that they could say, because some of them are in clubs that they're not allowed to speak to the press. So I can report for them without, so that their voice gets heard without necessarily mentioning them. A lot of my stories are sent to me. A lot of guys in jail, guys are being pent up for this, that, or the other. The newspapers won't print their side of the story. They don't make enough of a living portraying these people as real humans. So I get a lot of those guys calling me up from all over the world, asking me, can I cover their story? Can I assist them in some kind of way? What we don't do, we don't make up things. We don't tell mistruths. We're only interested in, but everybody has a side. So we want to make sure that we tell the biker side of the story as well. And so if there's an opportunity that their side getting out can help them in a case or help them in a situation, or a neighborhood wants to throw them out, but they talk about the party that they had last week, but they don't talk about the 16 children that they saved with their giving, or whatever the case may be. So we try to cover all that. So a lot of people send me stories. A lot of wives call me whose husbands have been caught up, and they're trying to get their husbands out of trouble and stuff like that. So we've had victims' families call us in a case where these bikers only were going to get like 5 years for murdering this guy, and the family called because they wanted to make sure that they got more time, stuff like that. All kinds of crazy stuff that you wouldn't believe. People call me talking about their loved ones were kidnapped. I got crazy people that call me and tell me that a biker gang took their child. It's just crazy. So we get all these stories and we try to pick through them and put out good stories, decent stories in the biker news genre, which we've been doing for about 6-7 years now.
All right, so now with all these good stories that you're putting out, I know that all of them are not good stories to some people that hear them. So what's some of the backlash that you might get?
Well, I've had all the backlash. I've been threatened. I've been stalked. I've been everything you can imagine. Death threats. Death threats are absolutely terrifying. I don't know how people like Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, people like, I don't know how they go through that, except for the fact that they have real live security personnel. But if you think of your average congressperson or your average city mayor, they get death threats and stuff too. And death threats are very, very, very interesting because you don't know where they're coming from, if it's true or not, what rock somebody's going to crawl out from under. And everybody I know, I'm sure, Lavish, you've had some of it too. So everybody I know that does this job and has to deal with the public. Listen, I had a guy show up on my doorstep one night at 3 o'clock in the morning talking about he was upset because I didn't cover Jesus enough in my posts. And he was coming to do something about it. I've seen some crazies, my man. And you do what you do, and you try to get through with it. You try to make it through to the next day. But every job you do out there in the world could be dangerous. If you're a bank teller or a news reporter or whatever, every job you do out there, even if you got a TikTok channel, you're going to piss people off. I pissed people off on my TikTok channel. I did a dance a couple days ago, and they were mad at the dance I did.
Oh man, that's crazy. That's crazy. Now, have you had any of these outside of some stalkers been at any of these events with someone that they felt you rubbed them the wrong way by your content?
I have had to deal with that.
How do you handle that? What was one of the situations, and how did you handle it?
Well, I really don't want to get into that. I can just say this. I mean, we're all grown mass men out here. So if you have an opportunity to see it coming, then you will react accordingly. And if you don't, then whatever happens to you happens. So I don't know. It's not something I really like to go into. I just I by the grace of God, I'm still here. So whatever His plan is for me, I will accept.
Okay, that's fair enough. That sounds good. With these YouTubers, man, you got different content with different people out here. Do you guys communicate with each other, or is it more so everybody's just in their own lane?
We absolutely communicate, especially the guys in this genre. I have fought with every single one of them, been mad at every single one of them, not spoken to them, and then spoken to them. Like I've got a few that I've got ongoing feuds with, but I'll never really try to say too much bad about them, because for everything I might hate them for, they might hate me for the same damn thing. But almost every one of them out there has helped me and hurt me, been good to me and stabbed me in the back. And this is just the nature of brotherhood. And I would absolutely say I'm in a brotherhood with a lot of those guys, black and white, outlaw and 99%er. I mean, we share one kindred spirit, a passion to create content. You share it. You're in here with I know how much money this stuff you got cost, because a lot of it I can't afford. I know what it costs. T-shirts, just that case that you carry your cameras in and stuff. That stuff. So we have this passion to film this stuff, like and it's innate. It's in us. So I would say I'm in a brotherhood with you.
So I mean, it's fair to say that we all, as podcasters, don't have to necessarily agree. It's you can put some content up, and me or someone else could put our content up disagreeing with what you said. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a problem.
Yeah.
It's just my point of view. But then you have someone who might feel like, well, he shouldn't have said anything about what I put up. And then it becomes a feud. Is it more so a feud, or is it like, hey, this is probably our next best content to put up because I seen what you said and I disagree with you, so we should do a podcast sharing our views?
So I think it's both.
Okay.
You and I have disagreed. We disagreed on a subject once before. I forget what it was, but you said, okay, well, we're going to agree to disagree. I forget what it was. It was pop-up clubs. Like, you're just completely against pop-up clubs, and I'm completely for them. I believe that every club was a pop-up at one time or another, and I believe that there needs to be, I don't believe there, if your club can make it, it can make it. Who am I to say you can't come in? Well, you're completely opposite of that. So I was like, I'm cool with that, brother. You got to do how you feel. Yeah, I don't. If you agree with everything I agree with, then we're not men. You're not a man. There's got to be something. If I like fat booty girls and you like skinny girls, what you gonna do? Change to fat booty girls because that's what I like?
Yeah.
No. And if you were like, well, okay, I don't like fat booty girls, but just go, okay, give me that one because that's the one you like. What? I'd be like, get out of here, man. So we can agree to disagree. But a lot of times we will fight, it'll be for real, or we will fight and it will be completely damn staged. And I'm okay either way because it generates content and that's what I do. I'm a content creator. Sometimes people ask me, why do you always go back and forth with those people that are, you're above that. No, I'm not. I'm not above that. I'll cuss your ass out in a heartbeat. I'm a biker. That's what we do. We love conflict. We love challenges or whatever the case may be. No, I am not above the fray. I will cuss your ass out in a heartbeat. I just try not to curse on my channel. But in real life, I curse like a sailor. Hell, I was a sailor.
Listen, so Black Dragon, let me ask you this question, man. For anybody out there thinking about joining the motorcycle club, man, what would be some insightful information that you'll share with them?
So, the father of the mighty Black Sabbath Motorcycle Club Nation, Paul Pet Perry, always says this, and it has become my mantra as well. In the Navy, we used to say, stand by for heavy rolls. And that's when the sea state got really bad. And, man, the ship would be rocking and stuff so bad you could walk on the walls. And that's when things are tough. When you be throwing up and everything, you still got to stay on your watch station. You still got to be alert. You don't always have smooth sailing. You don't always have wonderful state 0 Cs. Sometimes you have state 8 Cs and state 9 Cs and state 5 Cs, and they're horrible. So you got to stand by for heavy rolls. The father says it's a marathon, not a sprint. So I would tell you about a motorcycle club. It is going to break your heart. The people are going to let you down. They're people. They come at you with their very best. Like when you go try to pick up a girl, you're not going to tell her how raggedy your ass is and you got 5 women and a baby's mama that you're not taking care of your kid. You're not coming with that because ain't nobody messing with you. They're going to always hide the baby's mamas and the kids and the unpaid child support. They're going to hide all that until they get so deep in your life it's hard to root them out. And motorcycle clubs the same way. When they come at you, they're showing you their best and everybody's happy and on the bikes and riding and rolling and smiling and come. I understand that there's some dirty, filthy BS in the background. Some dudes making it up as they go, not following the bylaws. Be prepared for that. Be prepared to have your heart broken. Be prepared to be lied to. Be prepared to be disappointed. Be prepared to be promises broken. Be prepared for the club not to be all that it is cracked up to be. Be prepared to find some just absolute downright dirty laundry. So what the hell would make you want to do it in the first place? Well, first of all, we're tied by these motorcycles. We love them. We love these motorcycles. And we love people that love motorcycles. And we love wrapping a family around an insatiable passion to ride iron. And we appreciate people that ride like us. We appreciate people that share that background. And so we want to be around those people as ragged as they are. But churches are raggedy. Fraternities are raggedy. Masonry is raggedy. Anything that has human beings in it is raggedy as hell. But there's also some great in it. There's also some wonderful in it. There's also some, I can't not be around it. So be prepared not to run the first time something ugly goes down. The first time the national president doesn't keep his word. The first time the national body isn't following the bylaws that were put out. That is going to occur because people are greedy, they're stingy, they're ambitious. These are all things that people are. But you have to be in this for the long haul, in this for life, in this for the MC. This is why I've only been in one so far. You've got to be in this for what's greater than you. And that will keep you in it. And you won't be running at the first sign of disaster. You'll be able to stay in it and you'll have the wounds of the great lion that's been through all the battles. This is not going to be wound free, but it can be one of the greatest things you've ever done. If you ask not what the MC can do for you, but rather over and over and over and over and over and over and over again what you can do for the MC. And if you can get that into your mind, and how to treat people individually like precious pieces of solid gold, even when you screw up, even when you're bad, even when you have shortcomings, you can come out of that. And when the club has it, you can accept it. You can accept it because you're a real person trying to do some real things. Capiche?